I wanted to know the process where you came up with Molly Danger. What was the the idea behind it to get it from idea to actually creating the Kickstarter and
Right.
doing the project.
Well, it was a very long, serpentine kind of road, actually. Originally, the idea came from a road trip. I was driving with my friend Rich, and we were batting around these different ideas about doing an animated. What we would do. This was 2003. So what would we do? We were driving back from Pittsburgh Comic Con, and we were talking about different animated properties that were around that time, like Judd Winnick's Juniper Lee, and then Atomic Betty, and Kim Possible. And we were batting around the idea of what would we do if we were to create a character like that. Originally, Rich wanted the character to be a teenager, but I immediately said no, it has to be a young girl, and her name is Molly Danger. That's the it just like it was right there in my head. So we started putting uh, the idea together, but both of us not really, having that kind of in terms of the animation business. I had done some work at Sony doing storyboards on Starship Troopers and on Max Steel, but I had, not a producer, and I really hadn't embraced the idea of being a writer at that point. I had, dabbled with it, but I had barely had the time to actually write a script because I was always working on other things. So we decided to do it as a comic book. We Rich at the time was a publisher. He had a small publishing company called TV Comics, and he was doing the Munsters and I Dream of Jeannie and all these like licensed
Yeah.
properties that he could afford to get his hands
Yeah.
on. And we did a one sheet that ran in the back of I Dream of Jeannie. We started putting together a script. I wrote a script, started penciling it, and then realized that I could not pencil the book because my schedule was just too tight. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to be the writer. And we hired another artist who then could not finish the book because his schedule was too tight. So Molly went in a drawer. And every so often I would revisit the idea and I would look at the pages that had been done, maybe 5 or 6 pages and like a couple of covers and, nothing really, character designs for various characters, but nothing really
Cemented it,
solidified.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of it was I wasn't completely 100% sold on the concept. And when you're not 100% sold on the concept, it's really hard to get motivated to work on it.
What was
Uh,
the moment where you got 100% sold on it?
well, that would not come until years later, actually. What had happened was I was at DC and I was on contract at DC, and I was working on all this stuff. I was penciling and but I was also pitching myself. This is the point where I started to embrace myself as a writer. I started pitching stories, but nothing ever got any traction, and I really wanted to do something with it. And then I got approached by an editor at a book publisher about pitching them the idea for a kid's graphic novel, something that would appeal to young kids. And I was kind of knocking, different ideas around in my head, and then there was this little voice that said, "Me, me, me," and I was like, "Oh wait,
I
there's
have
Molly.
this. Yeah.
There's Molly Danger. What if I could do something with that?" So I dug up the old files, what I had, and I found the original script that I had written. And one of the problems with the script, as it had been, was it was way too complicated. It was this whole sort of through the looking glass kind of scenario where we were moving between two different worlds. We didn't know which world was the real world. Was Molly a little girl pretending to be a superhero? Was she actually a superhero who was dreaming of being a little girl? And it was just this whole weird, like, Alice in Wonderland sort of superhero idea. And I was just like, this doesn't work. This is way too complicated. So again, going back to embracing the idea, finally being ready as a writer and having had the experience of working with editors and working with, looking at, scripts from, Greg Rucka and Grant Morrison and Mark Waid and, Stuart Moore and Dan Jolly and, all these people, Dan Jurgens and all these people that I had the opportunity to work with. So I pared it down to a 2-sentence idea, which was, she is Molly Danger. She has always been Molly Danger, and the only thing she knows about herself is that she's Molly Danger. And that's where it blossomed. That's where I went through the entire idea and rewrote the entire thing. And I took the characters that we had designed originally, which were much more cartoony, and then I made them closer to
a real
yeah, like
real
what
world.
Is the scenario?
Yeah.
What is it? What is Molly's world about? So we have the current idea, which is Molly Danger is a 10-year-old superhero who's actually closer to 30 years old. She's been 10 years old for 2 decades. And she has spent the last 2 decades protecting a small city in upstate New York called Coopersville. And the Coopersville is one of these cities where the industry abandoned it years and years before, and then Molly Danger showed up. So they rebuilt their entire economy around Molly Danger tourism.
Wow.
So, so that was the backstory, became, who is she?
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know who she is. She knows what she's been told.
Yep.
And what she's been told is that she's an alien. And that's why she doesn't age. It's also why they keep her separated from the public. So she's the world's strongest little girl.
Who may or may not be an alien.
Right, but she's a popular superhero, but she's also incredibly lonely because she doesn't have any friends. She's not allowed to socialize.
Not allowed to have any outside contact.
Exactly. They say it's for, everybody's safety. So, that's where everything sort of came together. So nothing ever happened with the pitch. Mm-hmm. I pitched it. It sort of evaporated into the ether. And I sat on it for another 2 years. So when my contract with DC ended, and I was trying to figure out what the next step was going to be for me, financially, creatively, everything else, I had to decide. I was sitting at my desk, and I basically had to make this decision about whether or not I was just going to keep swimming like a shark and hope that I don't drown, or was I going to, tackle things head on and actually do something proactive? And it just happened to be sort of serendipitous almost. I had a friend of mine had contacted me about putting together this project with him for a website that I'd never heard of called Kickstarter.
Yeah, this was Clifford, right? If I'm not mistaken. No, Clifford was your friend from a child when you were a child.
Yeah,
okay.
So I looked at the Kickstarter website, and I said to myself, you know what? I could do this. I don't need to work with a partner. I have an idea. I have a project that I want to do. If I don't raise the money, no harm, no foul.
I can still do what I want to do.
And do exactly. It. I'm not. So I launched a campaign.
What was the process in kind of like how long did it take you to get ready for the campaign for the Kickstarter?
It took me about 6 months to put the campaign together.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, I did as much research as I could possibly do.
Did you read books? Did you?
I talked to other people that I knew in the business who had already run successful Kickstarter campaigns.
The guys at Action Lab.
Well, this was before Action Lab.
But they were still.
They had did their Kickstarters, and I contributed to their Kickstarters, but I didn't talk to them about Molly Danger. That was a separate. I didn't actually go to them until after I had put the campaign together and approached them about being the publisher of record.
Wow.
So I talked to Jimmy Palmiotti. I talked to a bunch of other people who I knew had done Kickstarter campaigns, and then I also have a marketing background, so and an advertising background. So I knew how to run a marketing campaign and how much work it actually takes to put together a properly managed marketing campaign, especially something that has to have repeat views every day for 30 days straight.
Absolutely. So
keep in mind, I was running the campaign and working full-time drawing comics.
Wow.
So I was basically working anywhere up till 12 hours doing comic stuff, and then at least another 5-6 hours per day just doing the marketing, just putting up stuff on Hootsuite, making sure checking the stats on the Kickstarter website, seeing where the most attention was being paid, where traffic was coming from, trying to get the information in front of the right people.